Hi, and welcome back. This is episode 104 of the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life, and I'm your host, Anoki Kapasi, and I'm here to teach you all about how life planning tools can empower you to create the life that you want. As a high-achieving mom, everything seems to feel urgent. Our careers, our family decisions, routines that we want to follow, and our big ideas. What happens is that we end up in this decision overload and we're constantly second-guessing ourselves and never really feeling fully at peace with our choices. You're always going to feel worried that you might choose the wrong thing or that you're sacrificing one part of you for another. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 6 data-driven ways to make decisions about when to do something or not to do something by using real inputs from your life. So instead of reacting from guilt or panic, you're going to have these practical decision-making frameworks that you can reuse anytime things feel urgent or you're just overwhelmed by your choices. And each of these approaches will lead you to feeling more calmer and clear and more aligned with the things that matter most to you. Let's dive in so you can start making some decisions like a pro. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. If you enjoy the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life podcast, please take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps more ambitious moms decide whether this is the show for them. Your feedback not only improves the show, but also builds our supportive community of purpose-driven mamas. One listener shared, "Inspiring, super helpful and enjoyable to listen to. I'm going to re-listen over and over and learn something new every time." Thanks so much, Kristen. You actually hit the pin on the head. I designed these episodes to be teaching how-tos, and they're meant for you to take notes when you need to and be able to listen to them over and over, almost like a playbook. So I read every review, like this one from Kristen, so I would love it if you could just pause this episode and go to my show page on Apple Podcasts and submit a review. I make these episodes for you, and so your words are so valuable to me. And maybe in your review you can even put which episode is your favorite or that you deem worthy of listening to again. Thanks, and I can't wait to read what you have to say. When you're a high-achieving mom in science, tech, or research, life can feel like one long, urgent to-do list. It leaves you very overwhelmed, and you're fatigued by so many decisions that you have to make, and at any turn, afraid that you might make the wrong move. So how do you decide what to actually do when everything just feels so urgent and so important? It's actually one of the things that I routinely coach clients around. They come to me with big decisions about their careers, their families, and even things that they want to achieve in their life. Here's some examples of what I've helped women with. On the career front, I've helped women decide whether there's room in their life for taking on a new project. Does it make sense to take on that new promotion? Or should they change jobs? Maybe they can start a new business or switch to consulting or find something that offers some level of flexibility. I've also helped women decide whether to start homeschooling. Should they buy or rent their next home? And which country to live in? As part of personal growth, I've helped women commit to new routines that they're trying to develop, or how to follow a big idea that they have, or whether they should spend their time learning a new skill or pursuing a relationship in their life. So I'm going to help you do the same in this episode by giving you 6 simple ways of decision making that are data-driven and that you can apply to any choice as a high-achieving mom. And these are frameworks that you can use so that you can cut through all the noise and overwhelm by the plethora of decisions that you face. You can make aligned decisions and also gain a new level of confidence at home and at work. This difficulty that we have in making decisions, the overwhelm that we feel, it's not happening in a vacuum. As a high-achieving mom, you've invested years of developing yourself professionally. You've combined the professional expectations of working in science and tech all of your family responsibilities and your personal aspirations, which have all created a constant state of competing priorities. And it's made it difficult for us to make clear decisions that feel aligned all the time. So I just want to take a second to explain the source of this problem. It's not you. First of all, there's an enormous amount of decision overload because it's hard to make concrete decisions with so many moving parts in your life and all the responsibilities that you face. There's just so much to do. Which brings me to my next point is that we're all starved for time. You're doing a lot for everyone all of the time, and it can leave you extremely time-strapped. So sometimes we feel pushed in the corner to make a decision just because we feel like, I better make something. I don't have a lot of time to spend thinking this through and mulling over all of my choices. And of course, we don't want to make the wrong decision. It's not that we've ever had a confidence issue before, but now as a mom, the stakes are higher. Maybe you've even been promoted in your job, so you have a whole team of people and multi-million-dollar projects under your management. So the stakes couldn't be higher. And then finally, you want balance and flexibility, but you have a lot of competing obligations. You have a demanding job that can easily steal all of your family time because it's not just a 9-to-5 job. You don't just clock in and then clock out. It's a very intellectually demanding job, and sometimes your attention goes beyond that of when you're in the office. The work that you do needs your full focus and very high level of skills. All of that can create a kind of tension between what society expects from you and what you want to achieve personally. So despite having a very strong set of analytical skills that we've built from all of our professional training, we lack a structured framework or a clear roadmap in our personal lives. And not having that structured way of decision making can make it hard for us to make personal and life decisions with the same kind of confidence that we've always been used to making. As I mentioned before, what I want you to be able to do is to make data-driven decisions. And so what I mean by that, so that we're all on the same page, is that you can use real inputs from your life, understand your choices and assess them in some way, right? Instead of making decisions that are from guilt or panic or feeling like your hand is being forced in some way. Now, when most of us think of data, especially as a scientist who is dealing with data professionally, you might be thinking about big spreadsheets, we're all used to that, or processing and crunching numbers in some way. But in our personal lives, what I mean by data is basically taking facts and observations and applying some critical thinking. So for you, that data would be your values and long-term vision, your time and energy and responsibilities. Some things are quantifiable and some things are qualitative. Understanding the likely impact that certain options have on your career, family, health, and identity. Trying to sift through assumptions you're making or emotionally driven thinking versus the actual facts and observations that you can make. Now, these kind of data can be found in specific planners that you have, like your calendars and schedulers. But most of this is part of your life plan. When you have your life plan in place, you can pretty much access all of these facts and observations from your life. Because when you're building your life plan, you are inherently asking very data-oriented questions. It's where you're going to have to pause and ask yourself things like, what matters to me most right now? What does my calendar, energy, or season of life tell me what is realistic and not? Or how will this choice affect the rest of my life? And so making these evidence-based decisions prevents you from making decisions where you feel pressured into them or because you've been comparing yourself to others and feel like you need to do this to keep up with them or to solely make a decision out of fear. So now let's look at the 6 ways that you can make data-driven decisions in your life. The first one is simply to pull out your gut response, okay? Now, a lot of people probably don't think of this as data, but there is wisdom in your intuition, especially when we talk about like a mother's intuition. There's just something there that maybe it's squishy and it's hard to quantify, but there is an important data element that comes from your gut and following your gut. When we talk about maternal intuition, motherhood, becoming a mom, literally, biologically reshapes your brain structure. and increases your sensitivity to your children's cues and your awareness of the risk level around your environment. That is all part of a mother's intuition. In the same way, we generally in our lives have our own intuition for many things, even outside of parenting. The reason that following your gut can actually work is because of what you're accessing. So the inputs for trusting your gut are things like your past experience and recognizing patterns from when you saw X before and then did Y, it turned out well or badly. And so taking those repeated situations that you've lived through and understanding what worked and didn't work, basically. And just think, in any particular setting, why is it that we always prefer working with an experienced professional rather than a novice? Because their intuition and their implicit knowledge and skill set, essentially their know-how, is so much stronger. Even if we have a harder time articulating some of that, we know there tends to be a greater benefit with working with an experienced person. Another type of input for gut responses is your self-awareness. So when you feel things like your heart rate changing or muscles tensing up or the butterflies that you get, the nervousness about a certain idea, changes in your chest or stomach, or just whether you feel grounded and calmer by a thought, those are all signals, body cues that are actually information that you should consider. And so self-awareness is something that we don't all do well naturally, but it's definitely something that you can train yourself to pay attention to and lean into as a source of data for you. So what happens is when you make this sort of gut response, you're going to get a very fast judgment or choice, just kind of what your quick thought on that is. And sometimes you can feel a sense of relief when you just say it out loud. It's definitely going to be a response that falls within your preferences, where you were leaning towards anyways, and just gives you a very quick go, no-go kind of thought on the matter. And as with most types of scientific endeavors in data analysis, when you first get this type of information, because a lot of gut response data are actually your initial forms of data. So that is going to be a place to start. It's your starting hypothesis. Hey, I think this is the decision I should make. But then you can then add on some more analytical filters and be able to make slightly more robust assessments and decision making. So the next 5 are going to be more towards that. But I did want to take a moment to really go through why we shouldn't dismiss our initial thoughts and our trusting our gut. Now, the second way is a values-based decision. And you might have heard of this before, but never fully understood what it is. This really leans heavily into who you are, your personal identity, what's important to you now and in the future. And that's because your inputs for this are your core values, which comes directly out of your life plan. The output of a values-based decision is one that is very much rooted in your values and even purpose-driven because it's coming from that deeper why. You know that your decision is intimately interlinked with who you are. Your values are essentially the foundation of who you are. So when you make a values-based decision, it's going to feel really good, even though it's not an emotional-based decision, because it's protecting and rebuilding your identity. And these types of decisions are checked against who you want to be. And so it's aspirational in that sense. And it's not just based off of a series of tasks that you have to get done. And you're telling yourself, should I do this or should I not? Instead, you're asking, am I the type of person who values spending my time doing this particular task? Values-based decision-making is really great to use if you tend to be a people pleaser, because values-based decision-making means that you are first and foremost never violating what's most important to you, even in the pursuit of pleasing somebody else. A third type of data-driven decision-making is one that revolves around your goals. A goal-oriented decision is one that is super targeted and very strategic. The input for a goal-based decision is where you have the outcome in mind. So essentially, you have the end in mind, and then It's much easier to reverse engineer the path to achieving success through these mini decisions that you make. These are decisions that are going to support the end result, either directly or indirectly. So every time you make a small decision within this larger context, you can confidently move forward knowing that you're moving in the correct decision. And if any of this sounds familiar and similar to what I was saying about strategic planning, well then that's because it is exactly that. When you develop your strategic plan, that's basically the output of a goals-based decision. The fourth data-driven decision-making framework is using a priority stack. This is where you take all of the options that you have in front of you. And because every idea, every decision you have to make might sound exciting, but they don't all have the same quality in terms of having different timings, taking different effort, maybe having different value to you, or even impact and results. Essentially taking all of these, because they are so different, and running them through a priorities filter. So the first thing you have to figure out are what are these priority filters, these stacks that you're going to create. For example, is there a sense of urgency? Do certain things have to happen sooner rather than later? That could be one stack. The importance and value to you could be another stack. Which choice is going to have the biggest impact on you in this season of life? We all know that at different times of our day, different seasons of our life, our priorities might change. So to understand and go through that filter would be important anytime you have to run a decision, but that could be another stack. And this is also a good time for you to be able to differentiate between things that you have to do versus what is nice to do. So that could be another stack. So I think you get the idea. Now, I recommend you building your priority stack from your life plan. Your life plan has all the information you need to understand what your priorities are and how to develop a hierarchical system. So that once you run your choices through this priority stack, you create a sequence of what comes first, second, third. The reason that priority stacking is so great to use is because it simplifies your decisions down to the biggest logistical factors. It's consistent with how the rest of society operates, and so it's kind of a sensible approach. It's not too hard to run as well. When the weight of a decision makes you feel like everything is so important, how am I supposed to choose one or the other, then this is a great way to be able to decide, okay, what am I going to do first? What should I delay? What can I delegate out? Maybe I can drop some things. So you never feel like you're being pushed into a corner and you have to get something done. In some cases, you do have to get something done, but you are going to be in control of what those things are going to be and when you're going to do them. The fifth way to use data to drive your decisions is a feasibility assessment. This is basically when you determine what is feasible logistically and resource-wise. So your inputs will actually be your resources, things like time blocks, your energy patterns, your active projects. What kind of human support do you have? These could be your relationships, your family members and friendships, or other ways that you collaborate with people, and also drive resources like your finances. What you're looking for through a feasibility assessment is understanding what are my low-hanging fruit options? What would be the easiest? What would make sense and is actually realistic to do? So your output from this feasibility assessment will give you a do or don't do type of decision. And the reason this works is this is how you understand the path of lowest resistance in getting things done. It increases your flow for work. It is unlikely to exhaust you when you make decisions based off of feasibility. Your feasibility assessment can include all of those resource examples that I mentioned, or you can actually make a decision that's just based off of one particular element, like your time, or how much energy it's going to take, or how much something's going to cost. Obviously, the more you use, the more robust your decision making will be, because you have more data points to consider. One of the things that's important in order to make a good feasibility assessment is to have all your resources lined up, all of the ones that you want to use as inputs, and then start considering how easy is this to implement? What's the risk? Is there a financial cost to this decision? How important is this emotionally to me? Do I actually have the capacity for this? Or am I borrowing from, let's say, my sleep or my sanity or just relationship capital? There's all kinds of things to consider, an unlimited number of ways you could conduct your feasibility assessment. And the last way I want to bring up today is understanding the whole life impact of your decisions. These are all of the ripple effects from a single decision. Even the simplest decisions can impact your life in a complex way. They can affect not just one part, like your health, your finances, your career, your marriage, so many things. And it's not just your own well-being in your own life that can be impacted, but it can also extend out to other people in your life, like your children and your spouse. The inputs of considering the whole life impact is having a complete picture before you make a decision. Now, the most obvious way to do this is having your life plan in place, because your life plan is just that. It is your whole life picture from where you are currently and the one that you're trying to create, your ideal life, all road-mapped out. This is an evidence-based method for making decisions because no decision is ever made in isolation. And when you consider the whole life impact, it's going to reveal how some choices that seem rationally right on paper might create some unexpected strains in other important areas of your life. But it might also show that there's additional benefits to other parts of your life. And also, you might be able to identify some areas of your life that are going to require additional support in order for you to make a certain choice sustainable. So there's so much value from having this whole life picture. And I can't stress how important it is to have your life plan, to have this complete picture. Having this holistic form of data is going to help you identify the potential deal breakers before you commit to any one decision. This is how you're going to avoid creating imbalances in your life by any decision, and thereby also preventing a lot of regret. And if you want those decisions to consistently support the bigger life you're building, that's where life planning comes in. Your life plan is going to help you get clear about your values, your priorities, resources, and goals, and becomes the data source for these 6 decision types. So if you want to make decisions with clarity supported by a clear action plan, then you're going to want to build your life plan so that you can envision, plan, and take action on your big moments and choices. In order to put yourself in control of your life, you have to be able to make intentional decisions about what matters, where each step is moving you forward to helping you understand yourself better and clarifying your direction in life. We often trap ourselves on a linear path, but with a life plan, all of your choices come into focus. Those are choices that are not just right in front of you, but also the ones that are far out. Not just the obvious choices, but also all of your hidden choices that now appear as if by magic. But it's not magic. It is the power of life planning. Your life plan is going to serve as a decision-making filter, and it is such a simple way to get that decision-making support anytime that you need it. It's just right there at your fingertips. So if you'd like support in building out your life plan that then becomes your data source for every big decision, I'd love to invite you to a free alignment audit call. You can book your spot on solveformom.com/book-life-planning, and we can map out what a clear, confident decision-making framework could look like for you in your actual life. That link is also in the show notes. So go ahead and click on that and get your free call, and let's get the conversation going. Let's see where your life is out of alignment, where you could be making better decisions, and whether a life plan can be the key to getting a lot more clarity in your life. Using real data from your life is what's going to turn your decision-making from just being an exercise of guesswork into something that you can actually trust. So the 6 approaches that I outlined today are 1, follow your instincts, 2, making values-based decisions, 3, making goal-oriented decisions, 4, using a priority stack, 5, doing a feasibility assessment, and 6, understanding the whole life impact. So this week's little homework that you can try if you want to get the ball rolling is to pick one big decision that's been hanging over you. Then pick one of the 6 decision-making models that I shared today and try it out for your decision. So a pro tip that I want to give you is to make sure, first and foremost, that you are clear about your choices. Then use the approach that I spoke towards. Now, if you need extra help first defining what your values, your priorities, your goals, your resources are, then don't hesitate to reach out and book that free alignment audit call with me. The information, again, is in the show notes. Thank you for spending your time with me today. The most important thing that I wanted you to know today is that you don't ever have to choose from guilt or panic. There is a much better way, one that puts you in control of creating the life that you want to live. So please go out there and achieve your ambitious mom life. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.